When it comes to drawing skin, you have to be incredibly careful about getting your values correct. I've found, and I'm still very new to drawing humans, that we tend to draw fair skin too light. And one of the reasons for this is definitely when drawing on a white surface. White is the lightest value, so anything that has a darker value is going to look dark. Fair skin is much darker than we think. However, if we add the right values first, it's incredibly disconcerting as it looks way too dark. You can see as I'm adding the values to this piece that it looks too dark, way too dark, and this is because of the surface being white, there being no context around the hand, no background, etc., and it just looks wrong when it's isolated like this. Here's a photo where you can see the hand just looks completely out of place. What can happen then is that we think we've got the values incorrect, so we start to compensate and make things lighter, which then will result in the area being too light when we bring the rest of the context in. It's a good idea when drawing people to ensure that you have context around things like faces, background, hair, etc., so that when you draw the skin, it's then easier to get the values correct. One of the biggest errors I see in human portraits is that the skin tones are too light, or that they're missing a spectrum of colour, usually blues and violets. Our brain likes to think it understands and knows what fair skin looks like, pinks and peaches, but misses out the important colours that give depth and structure like blues, violets and greens. By really concentrating on your values, you will find your portraits come out much more realistically. I use a range of colours when drawing humans and a range of pencils. The different pencils have different qualities. Some are softer, so blend in the latter layers really beautifully. Some are harder, so for me they work best as initial layers, but there are no hard and fast rules when it comes to what order you use your pencils in. I will have a range of colours from very pale pink whites through to dark browns and oranges, pale violets to dark greens. Having the context around the skin really does help, and it would probably have been advantageous to have had the background in before the hand. It's much easier to gauge the correct value in greens than it is in pale skin. You can see when the drawing is finished, the hand works beautifully, doesn't look too dark or out of place. So to recap, when drawing fair skin, help yourself by adding in context around things like backgrounds, hair, clothing, etc. that will really set you up for being able to get the values in the skin tone correctly. Do use your violet tones to help with shadows, but be careful to get the paler areas in the correct value, otherwise your violet tones will look like bruises. It's all about the values and the percent between the dark and the light. Some is very big percent, take black and white. There's a huge difference in the values there, but then take a very dark value that might be black and a value that's just a slight highlight, which is maybe a dark blue. You'd need to get the highlight, which is actually a dark blue, really quite dark to work properly against the black. It's also a really good idea to isolate the colours if you struggle in picking the right values. Use a viewfinder over your printout or create a digital viewfinder so you can really see the colour you're trying to depict.